so to raise any other issues they may have. So let me introduce the distinguished panel. I think it's fair to start with the Dr. Kim, because we all know him. He's from Korea, and he's going to be taking the floor to discuss the issue of the IDI, and basically to focus on how his country has progressively been doing so well. Then we have got on the right-hand side the representative from the government of Egypt, and you know Nagwa. She participates quite a lot in our meetings on statistics and indicators. She's going to look at the policy dimension and discuss how Egypt has put in place an enabling environment and what the policies are which are meant to drive Egypt down the IDI ladder. Then just next to me, we have got Mr. Mohamed Al-Tahan, who is the chairman of the board of commissioners and CEO, Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Jordan. He is a regulator, so he is going to talk about the role of regulation. And I understand one of the key pillars meant to drive Jordan in the post-2015 development agenda is going to be ICTs. And they are putting a lot of emphasis on the IDI, and is going to share with you how they intend to work towards becoming number one. Then right at the end, you have the representative of the government of Denmark. And as you well know, they are leading the ladder this year on the IDI. And we are going to be asking him how they did that. So our meeting is a very peaceful meeting. Normally, number one and number two don't sit next to each other. But we are going to listen to Consul Mr. Esben Mbog, who is the head of mission Danish consulate in Tbilisi. He's representing the minister of Denmark, and he's going to share with us what Denmark has done to attain the number one slot and to make sure that ICT is becoming ubiquitous in his country. And I understand he's involved in ICTs, projects, and so forth in Georgia. Having said that, next to me, and initially you saw the deputy minister was supposed to be here with us, and he sends his regrets. But he's well represented here by the chairman, who is responsible for innovation. And innovation is quite key to ICT growth. So he's our chairman. You already know him, Mr. Iraki Kashbaze, chairman of the Innovation and Technology Agency of Georgia. So I have raised the questions and the issues that you are going to hear. I would like to begin with the representative of Denmark. If you could share his perspectives. It's going to be 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, then we will open the floor for you to intervene. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, thank you for allowing me to address you, and you know, answering a question like that is obviously not easy. It's the first thing you were thinking about is that, yeah, we've been doing this for quite some time. Denmark has been an ICT innovator for quite some time. If you look in front of you, I think all your little devices are also Danish, the ones we're speaking into. So we've been at it for a long time. But the fact that Denmark has a very, very large public sector, and in order to increase efficiency in that public sector, has forced them to develop e-governance. And e-governance has then had a spillover effect into to businesses as well. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we wanted to ensure that every citizen in any corner of the country could actually access public services. And so that's from getting a health card or filing your tax return or anything like this can be done online now. And then standardizing that data information made it possible also for the private sector to access the same type of systems. So as a business and as a citizen, you have a standardized system that has made it possible for many people to access this. And obviously, the fact that there's a large political consensus in the country to go in this direction has been enabled us to move faster. And then, like I said, we've been at this a long time, so the skill sets among the broad population is very, very high. And I think, I can't remember what the number is, but it's something like 95 or 96% is connected to the internet on a daily basis. So that's a very high number, obviously.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me have a follow-up question on that. Do you think the size of Denmark has anything to do with the high penetration of ICTs? Or your attaining of number one?
Yeah, I guess it has. It's easier. Maybe it's easier in a smaller country to roll out a system like that. But I think also sometimes this is a bit of an easy argument because I think you have to probably look at the GDP per capita and the diversification in the small and medium business enterprises. When need drives the development in many instances, and since the companies are very diverse and very focused on exports, I think probably most of our companies have more than 50% of their turnover done outside the country. So that's also pushing it. So it's not just size, I think.
Very good. So you will find in the report that there is no correlation between size and the IDI at all, size, geographical size. So I think what you say is just in line with that. I would like to move on to Korea. We were in Busan, and we are most grateful that you hosted the Planning Potential Conference. There were thousands of people, and the internet was excellent. The speed was very high. For the 3 consecutive years, you were number one on the IDI. Can you share your secret with us?
Thank you, Dr. Sabasaba. It is a great honor for me as a panelist. Let me explain the Korean ICT and national strategy regarding the ICT. ICT industry always has been a main factor that drives Korean economy. Korea had gone through a period of modernization in 1970s and 1980s. Definitely at that time, we didn't have money. And then, therefore, by adopting the theory of unequilibrium growth instead of equilibrium growth, we concentrate on construction, manufacturing cars, ships, and electronics. And then we give up the other things. We just concentrate on car, electronics, ship. After that, later on is semiconductors. Also, Korea has been through a tough period such as IMF crisis in 1997 and the global financial crisis in the year of 2008. In this regard, the ICT industries were demonstrated to be a key factor, not only for recovering from the wringer, but also for the surplus imbalance of trade in Korea nowadays. ICT industry's share of Korea's GDP was 8.9%, and the contribution to the Korea's economic growth was 15.9% in 2013. And despite the Korea's deficit in other industries trade, the ICT industry reached trade surplus of 88.6 billion US dollars in 2013. Without ICT industry, we estimate a trade deficit of around 44 billion US dollar. That's why we concentrate on ICT. ICT is the most important industry in Korea. As you probably know that Korea, especially South Korea, we do not have any natural resources, including oils. We just only have human capitals. And then ICT policy, therefore, has a great meaning to Korean economy development policy. The Ministry of Science, ICT, and Future Planning, MSIP, implement objective and definite policies citing statistics. And KAIT, my organization, one of my team, produce ICT statistics every month and every year. For example, we surveyed 5,300 ICT enterprise every month. And then we surveyed all enumeration of our ICT enterprise every year. The employee number, export, import, newcomers, exit numbers, everything. And then a report to MSIP, sometimes report to direct to Blue House. That's one of my job. And then according to McKinsey research, the internet created 2.6 jobs, to each rose to technology-related efficiency. And then Korea plans to build a nationwide giga internet network by 2017, as my Madam President proposed at Busan, to lead to the hyper-connected society. And we also are focusing on technological development and infrastructure upgrade with the aim of being the first country to launch commercial 5G mobile communication services in 2020. 2 years later, in 2018, the Winter Olympic will be held Pyeongchang in Gangwon province, is located 100 kilometers from Seoul. During the Winter Olympic seasons, we will show 5G technology and infrastructures. We are ready to show the 5G in 2018 during the winter session. Okay, this is my mind, but it's not connected to subject. It's my subject opinion. As Susan mentioned, in Busan, the member state approved Connect 2020. Regarding the Connect 2020, the Korea will lead to join and collaborate with ITU or any other member state, because it is time for Korea, which grew up one of the most developed countries in ICT sectors, with assistance by the global society in the past. It's time to repay and redound to other member states. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kim. Your Excellency, the President of Korea, during Plenipot, or the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference, noted that Korea took the route of making sure that they developed the intellectual capability of the country. So under the IDI, we have two sub-indices: access, skill sets, and use, And I think those of you who have done developmental studies, you know that 5% of the population can feed and run the economy if you take the industrialization route. As compared to other, we have got representatives of developing countries that probably their economies depend mostly on agriculture, and I would like to pick their brains on that. But I should also acknowledge, of course, the fact that we hardly passed 3 months without signing an agreement on projects that are financed by the government of Korea. And ITUD, the development sector, and ITU in general, we are very grateful. They have financed the projects ranging from migration from analog to digital, and capacity building in developing countries in Asia, in the Caribbean recently, and in Africa. So to that, we are very much grateful. Let me move on to Egypt and ask Dr. El Shanau, who is the Undersecretary in the ministry. We know there have been many developments in Egypt, and we would like to hear from you what the government is doing. And we looked at the IDI. Egypt is doing well. What exactly have you put in place, and what are your plans for the future?
Thank you very much, Dr. Zavazava. Actually, let me went through the different strategies that Egypt executed during the last 10 years, starting from the year 2000 to 2010. Egypt succeeded to build the infrastructure for the ICT through the first strategy and set the main regulatory and legislation framework. Then it went through the information society and build several initiatives which help us to develop ICT in different sectors. And then it ended by improving and developing the ICT industry to be among the major player worldwide in ICT export of services. And then we had the revolution in 2011 and the slowdown that we had a little bit in our economy. The ICT was one of the major sectors that absorbed this slowdown. But it also been affected by having decreasing its growth rate, which before 2011 reached around 18% growth rate. And then it went down to around 6% during the last year. But gratefully, we again achieved by the end of June 2014, we reached again 10% growth and contribution to the GDP with 3.8%. And then after the starting of the roadmap, the political roadmap, and after reshaping the position of Egypt among the region again and the stability that we lived in now, Egypt set an aggressive strategy for the next 3 years. The first part of this strategy will focus on the infrastructure and by setting an action plan for the broadband to go to from 14% penetration to around 50% in the next 2 years, and to reach it by year 2020, 100%. And we will focus on the education, on the school, on the hospital, on the youth and culture center. And by introducing the unified license by the end of this year, which will help us to improve and increase the competitiveness and of services, as well as the quality of services in the benefit of our consumer. Concerning the usage of ICT, we did a quite good percentage of usage of ICT from the household and individual in our country. As well as we succeeded to measure the digital divide among the different governorates in our country to see where we stand in every governorate from using ICT services and accessing the ICT services. To increase this in the next 3 years, there is also a plan for digital economy through implementing mega projects like the notarization, the real estate, smart meters, set box, national health insurance, and e-courts. All of these are major projects will be implemented during the next 3 to 4 years in our country. In addition to this, the production of electronics, the tablets for our schools. So we believe that this will increase the usage of ICT in the different socio-economic sector and will affect the whole economy. For the third pillar, which is ICT skills, building the capacity, we succeeded in the last few years to build the capacity to deliver ICT professional to the community in different sectors. We will continue on this program. We succeeded to introduce the ICT curriculum in all our universities in Egypt. We will continue on this as well, and we will focus on the innovation and entrepreneurship during the coming years, on the startups, as well as on the technology park, which will help create more jobs for our youth. So this is our plans for the future, and we believe because of the support of the policymaker from the presidency level that we can achieve this plan, and this really will be reflected in the next IDI reports during the coming years in all its pillars, in terms of access, in terms of usage, in terms of skills as well. We will see it together in the next future, and we wish for Egypt the success in this and the help of all the organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now let me turn on to our hosts, who is also the chairman of this meeting in the absence of the deputy minister. He's not chairman by accident, by the way. His real title is chairman of innovation, so he keeps his title. You may not know, this country has a tradition of making good wine. And they've got 500 varieties of grapes. A secret I will share with you. There are ongoing studies to see whether the first wine was made in Georgia or elsewhere. So I said to His Excellency the Minister, maybe we should develop an index which is called the Wine Evolution Index. So we know that Georgia is doing very well, and if you look at the figure, it's one of the most dynamic countries. We know also that they are making efforts to connect post offices, to go to all the villages, to go to schools and so forth. But the chairman will share with us what exactly they are doing and how they are working towards becoming #1, I guess. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sawazawa. I would like to share to you our secret, how we are moving so fast, and according to the IDI, we become one of the most dynamic country in this case. In past few years, Georgia has proceeded numerous reforms, which has reflected in our progress. According to the World Bank report for starting and doing business, you know that was in 2013, that's number 9. The World Bank changed methodology and we become number 13. But in any case, that's reforms made before provided a great opportunity for businesses, local businesses and international businesses to open and start their own business in Georgia in a minute. You can register company, you can get all necessary documents in our House of Justice, which is a one-stop shop, and you can get in 15 minutes, in 20 minutes, all necessary documents. It's very simple also to get a passport, to get other documents. All taxes are paying online, and also many e-governmental services provided for the Georgian citizens, which is simplified procedures and becoming more faster the process of for the businesses and for all the people, all the citizens in the country. Also, that there was made very interesting projects for the schools. All first class school kids are getting free of charge the netbooks, and they are becoming like it's becoming the first computer also for the families, because it's this netbook has all possibilities to be this concrete computer, and to provide internet access, to provide other access to the software. And I think that in last 2 years, that's why we become so dynamic country. The government decided to prioritize the ICT, and ICT becoming one of the top priorities of the country. And the priority is also to become in the top country in indexes like its IDIs and also global innovation indexes, and to build a knowledge and innovation-based economy, and of course that's increasing the export of intellectual products, innovation and technologies. I think not only the development of information technologies, infrastructure and skills is important for our country, but also that Georgia have to become a producer of innovation, a producer of new technologies. That's why during this year and next year we are going to start the process of establishing, based on libraries, community innovation centers will be established. 500 community innovation centers will be established based on libraries. They will be connected to the high-speed fiber optic infrastructure, and these centers will not only provide access to computer and teach the computer skills and internet skills, but also provide access to the innovative technologies and infrastructure. Also, I would like to mention that infrastructure which will be created, and the government is working on this project to support the creation of such kind of infrastructure, will be based on open access, and it will raise the competition on the market. It will raise development of services based on open access, and it will create opportunity to the service providers to be concentrated on the last mile. One thing I would like to mention, it's also that Georgian government is continued and pay very big attention on the market liberalization, on competition on the market, and that's why that in regulatory case they made a number of reforms, and this process of reforms under process. This week we are going to regulatory commission is going to provide LTE licenses for 4G networks, and I think that in nearest future we also will have 4G network in our country. Yeah, what's according to the skills and the capacity building, our goal is to achieve 40,000 IT and IT specialists until 2020. I think it's ambitious goals, but it's achievable if we are looking to our neighbors. For example, Ukraine and Belarus is very good in this case. I saw that in IDEA that Belarus is number 4 in skills development, and I think it's one of the crucial thing if the country needs fast development and FDI and also the rising of GDP. Yeah, I think it's shortly about our progress, about our achievements, and again I would like to mention that we will do our best to next year and next years to become one of the leading country in IDI. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your intervention. When the government of Georgia announced that they were bringing the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, Jordan didn't want to be outdone, so they brought His Excellency the Minister and the Chairman of the Board. So we know the relationship between policy and regulation is immense if you are going to drive towards a global knowledge and information society. So I'm pleased to have the Chairman of the Board, who is here present, is going to address opportunities and the challenges. And from the Jordanian perspective, they have a strategy, and that strategy says one of the key pillars to driving the economy in the post-2015 agenda is going to be information, communication, technology. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When it comes to the natural resources, Jordan is not really much different from Korea. Our human capital is our main asset. And we do believe in maintaining the best, lively, dynamic relationships with the international community and its activities, and that's why we are sitting in this event. Because we do believe in evidence-based policy making, we seek all sources of information and evidence to help us build our policies. And we do believe that the IDI is one of these main resources, and we continuously analyze the IDI with the different objectives. We check on how far are we progressing or otherwise. We do compare our progress to similar size economies, and we do compare our progress to the rest of the world. And the outcome of this is an input to our policy making and strategy setup. Our current policy version is the third policy version for the sector, and it has been built on various pillars. One of these pillars was the outcome and the gap analysis of the IDI. And the focus of the current policy version is on promoting IT and promoting investment while producing the policy on a demand-supply manner. The outcomes. The ICT sector contribution to the Jordanian economy is ranging between 12 to 14%. The country enjoys a very good level of ICT infrastructure, especially the wireless part. By the end of this year and beginning of next year, which is January, we will be launching our 4G network. Penetration has been very well. The mobile penetration is around 142%. The internet usage is about 73% as we speak. And we do believe that we have to continuously monitor our policy and the strategy and adjust it in a shorter time intervals than what we used to do. Please let me just divert a little bit to a subject which was brought up by the gentleman from Intel during the first day. when he spoke about the lack of investment and its consequences on the uptake of computer sales and bandwidth. And probably the first thing that may come to mind is, well, we do not need regulation. I think we do need smart regulation rather than not needing regulation. And we really need to consider the decorrelation between regulating service-based activities from infrastructure-based activities and the amount of associated incentives that can be plugged into the infrastructure-based regulation, with the fact that having these incentives needs to result in an open shared access that is fully regulated for the benefit of all service providers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that intervention. It reminds me, about 8 years ago, we were running a workshop for engineers from Somalia, and we were looking at the figures, the general performance of the ICT sector. And you know, there was no government for about 13 years. But the figures, when you compared where there was a government and Somalia, their figures were growing, the growth rate was way higher. So there was no regulation in place. So I don't know, the question is, what regulation? And that is not for here, it's for the Global Symposium on Regulators. How can we put in place appropriate regulatory frameworks that drives competition and investment in the sector? But it's not for today. You have heard from our panelists, we have got pretty much good time. We almost split again 50-50. So it's your turn to take the microphone. Feel free to ask any of the panelists or to share your perspectives. And if you wanted to be number one on the IDI, be brief. They did 3 minutes, try to do 1 minute. Okay, please. Yeah, Bangladesh.
Okay, thank you. My point is that based on international consensus, is there any provision to create a global ICT fund, just like that of a global climate fund, to help the developing nations proceed towards the ICT? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cosmas. I think this is a question that I'll direct to Dr. Kim and Mr. Is it Aston? Now, I would like to find out from both your instances as to what extent, you know, the private sector was involved in driving the ICT, you know, vision and strategy that both your countries, you know, have set, you know, for yourselves. Thank you.
I will take one more right here. Intel, I will come back to you a bit later, please. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. My point is regarding to the first point you mentioned, Chairman, about the correlation between the size of the country and the IDI. I find myself that not agree 100% for this point. Why is that? Because the big size of the country creates difficulties for the government, for the service providers, to expand the services, and for the service providers to expand their network. And that needs a huge investment and huge money for that. In the case of Saudi Arabia, thanks for the government that they considered this issue, and we created a very ambitious fund. We call it the Universal Service Fund. The government asked the service providers to compete together in order to expand the services in some villages. The size of Saudi Arabia, it's almost 2 million kilometers, and we have some villages scattered around the country. This needs a lot and a huge investment to make sure the availability of services for the population. So having said that, I think these efforts and the difficulties need to be considered when we ranking government or ranking countries in the IDI. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saudi Arabia. So we have got 3 questions. You may know there is what is called the Convention of Parties, COP. COP negotiations are on climate change. And they created a fund for clean energy and as an incentive to those who have less greenhouse gas emissions. And the question from Bangladesh is, can we create such a fund to attract more investment in the sector and also probably to increase penetration levels in rural areas? But you are also familiar with the Universal Service Fund, I'm sure. But I will leave it to the panelists. Then the Minister of Namibia, of course, raised the issue of the role of the private sector. And he would like to hear some perspectives. Saudi Arabia, the relationship between IDI and the size of the country. Please, the floor is open. Who wants to? Denmark?
Well, I think it's obvious that it would be possible to create a fund to support ICT development especially in developing countries. I mean, the impact of ICT development in countries that are less developed is enormous. I mean, that's obvious for everyone. So I think, like we focus on climate change, I think there will be quite a focus on ICT as well. Whether Denmark has plans to set something up, I must admit I'm not 100% sure. I know we're very, very active on the COP project. So and since we are at the top of the list on ICT, I would not be surprised if there was some initiative in that direction. To the question about the private sector, I think, you know, I mean, no doubt the private sector has been driving this to a large extent, and the liberal rules around ICT implementation and competition between suppliers of either fixed line networks or wireless networks has been a major factor. Now, in Denmark, we've had 4G for quite some time, and most of the operators are supplying 4G at this point. But before that, we had a large rollout of fiber optic network. So in that sense, yes, and our companies, our small, medium-sized companies, have been connected to an ICT structure for many, many years, and that has really made them more competitive on the outside. So I think that's it's quite obvious that they had a large effect on this. Having said that, obviously it's a combination of both public sector and private sector. The e-governance, and I have to just mention how far Georgia is in this. I mean, it's quite amazing actually. I think they might even be further than Denmark in e-governance, and so they're lacking on maybe some other points, but that has pushed that development as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I will come back to you. Jordan, if you could.
Yes, just going back to the same question. I believe for emerging economies, the role of the private sector is the main engine for their economic reform. And without it, I am not sure how far we will be able to get. Thank you.
All right, so let me hear from Korea. What do you think? We heard from Denmark and the initiatives they have taken. I would like you to try to combine the 3 or pick one of them and just share with us.
I think it's a question from Bangladesh. We have some special program for assisting foreign countries, especially Southeast Asia and African countries. One of my job is we just call partnership program to invite foreign countries, companies, or public employees to invite and introduce and match the business meeting in Korea. And then we have several programs in government side. And then Namibia case, in Korea, definitely private sector prevail, but the government, the role of government is very restricted when they set the policy or when they set the schemes. The government budget input. For example, we are preparing the safety network in our country. We just, the government budget will put on the R&D and make a master plan. After that, the private sector, is telecommunication operators and Samsung or LGs, they will come to the market and then it operate. And then the ratio between government and private sector is 10% versus 90% in Korea. 10% by government budget, 90% is market. But in terms of science, the government, the portion of government is 25%, and private sector is 75%. This depends on the characteristics of industry. That's my answer.
Thank you very much, Korea. I think Egypt, you would like to say something. Then when you finish, I would like to open the floor so that we have a second round and you will still have an opportunity to revisit some of the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Concerning the idea of ICT fund, we succeeded to have an experience in our country by creating an ICT trust fund, which helped us a lot in developing ICT initiative and project in cooperation with different donors, and in focusing on the women and youth in the different governorates, help them to use ICT to build their capacity to be an entrepreneur by using ICT in the different villages, in the remote area and undeserved area. So we succeeded and we continue to use this ICT trust fund. Concerning the private sector, our policy since the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology was established is to paving the way for the private sector and to have the policy of public-private partnership. Investment in ICT sector, 90% is coming from the private sector and 10% only from the government. Sometimes it is direct and sometimes it is indirect through incentive or preparing and providing the ICT professional to the private sector. Focusing on the small and medium enterprise as well. For the size of country and IDI, yes, concerning this, this is one of the challenge. Our country is big, our population is increasing tremendously from year to year, and this is one of the main challenges that we try through the different policies and plans to overcome and penetrate the ICT all over the country.
Thank you very much, Egypt. I think the beauty of a meeting of this kind is that it doesn't only provide us with an opportunity to discuss about indicators and statistics, but also to network. There are many case studies that are emerging and different practices, and I think it's good in the corridors or over lunch just to discuss and establish business partnerships. I saw Intel was the last one to indicate their interest to speak. So just briefly, and then I will move to Japan and other countries, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we were seated by Jordan, I would like to clarify that we are not, that we were talking about our findings, surprising findings which we found in Europe, that the rigid regulation hinders investment in the last mile. And we totally agreed with Jordan that we need a smart regulation. So please don't think it is our position. It is a finding and experience, and which I wanted to share here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I heard him say, okay. He was just checking whether you were in the room. Okay, Japan, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Zavza, for the floor. IDI, for Japan, IDI is very important and reliable indicator, and it is a basis for policy making, and every country, including Japan, has special interest in them. And as you know, ICT environment has rapidly changed, and that trend should be reflected to IDI to improve its accuracy and reliability. So we gather and discuss the way of IDI at EDT or EGH or WITIS meetings, and Japan has contributed and will contribute to further improvement of IDI to reflect the current ICT environment. And so, for example, regarding fixed mobile broadband internet, broadband services are offered through various measures such as DSL, CATV, and fiber to the home. And however, current index doesn't reflect those diversities. And that index treats all types of services together. So we would like to propose to have a sub-index for each broadband services. By doing so, we could have a more accurate and reliable index. And I have additional comments on international internet bandwidth. Actually, this indicator is important, but there seems to be room for improvement of reflecting the actual situation to the indicator. So we would like to keep on this indicator at various places. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Japan. In fact, we met with Japan about 5 months ago in Geneva, and they made a very good proposal that during our forum discussions under the EGTI, it would be good to have moderators, and we are establishing that. We discussed with the chairpersons for EGTI and the GHI, and we are making sure that we will have people who will be moderating the discussions. And please feel free. All of you, you are entitled to join online. My colleagues who are sitting over there, the 3 of them, they can help you and give you the link to where and how you can join the expert group on telecommunications indicators and also on households. So just feel free, you can participate, you can submit your comments. And when we have face-to-face meetings also, you are cordially invited to come. You are the ones who put in place the methodologies and also we establish the indicators. So just feel free, but thank you for raising those issues. There is a floor right at the end and another one over there. Then I would like to give the panelists an opportunity to respond, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Donc, juste une petite information à laquelle j'exprime beaucoup d'intérêt à vous la transmettre. Donc, en regardant de près le rapport sur la mesure de la société d'information, on constate que la Tunisie a perdu quelques points et ce pour la 2e année consécutive. Ceci est dû au fait que, comme vous le savez, pas de traduction.
Interpretation in English. Can you just check if there is somebody?
Please speak. Okay.
The one who is handling interpretation in English, can you hear me?
Yes. Donc je dirais que.
Okay, please, you may continue.
Donc je dirais que une petite information qui mérite d'être que je vous la communique. Donc j'ai constaté en regardant le rapport de
Okay. Tunisia has been losing several points in this index, and Tunisia has gone through this revolutionary project, and term and revolution has both negative and positive sides. So how to proceed with this downsize, and government has decided to establish certain steps to develop new strategy in a digital telecommunication to develop infrastructure that could be used in businesses as well as in administration, in offshoring, in order to provide more opportunity to attract investments. So whatever was done by the government, the business sector was reacting very rapidly. There were certain researches conducted in this area, and based on researches, the researches are still going on in this area, and by 2015 we will be able to make decision, and at the next symposium we will have results, outcomes of these three different research results. Thank you.
And sorry for the problem we had with the interpretation. You may also know that you don't have to wait for just the symposium. ITUD has got what we call study groups, and we bring together experts to discuss and share ideas and case studies on particular topics. So you can just go on the website and see. And we have also in the other sectors some study groups, and we have a number of events that take place where you could learn from others and also share your experiences, and other countries will benefit in the process. There was the last intervention from here, please.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Joaquim from Mozambique. I just wanted to find out the responsibility of IDIs, if is the government responsibility or is for private sector to run it in the country. And if it is the private sector, what we are facing in developing countries is that they are focused in the region where they can make profitable. And in the rural area, they won't go there. If we do it by the government will say that it does not have enough funds to run ICT projects. So what is the way forward for developing countries?
Thank you very much for all the interventions. You were brief, and we thank you for that. I'm going to give each of the panelists about a minute to try and respond to whatever they want and add something else. I begin with Egypt. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zavazava. Let me end by say a few words for the ITU. It's to thank the ITU, Dr. Zavazava, Susan, and all the team for all the efforts done in the area of measurement and in the IDI. But we are looking for more effort in the future in order to improve the measurement, to reflect the status and the real progress done by every country. All of us agreed upon that the ICT affect the overall economy. ICT is integrated in all the different economic and social sector, help in improving the services and help in improving the quality of life of the citizen. So this should be reflected on the economic context of every country. And I think this can be reflected through measuring the value added of ICT to the whole economy of every country, the contribution of ICT to the GDP of every country. And I think this could be also one of the measurements that we are looking for from the ITU to be added in the future. I know that there is a tentative plan to reconsider the IDI, and reconsider its variable again. So we would like to see as one of the developmental variables economic variable in the future, which I think it help all the country to see the real progress of the ICT on the overall economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Egypt. Jordan, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Going back to the gentleman from Mozambique, I think the IDI is the outcome of the collective policies that the government decides to take in the different domains. So basically, it does not have really to be focused on the ICT policy. For instance, you can go to the Universal Service Fund to help you fund the reach to these remote areas where the government does not have. You could adapt an incentive program for those who are willing to invest in the urban areas by giving them incentive not to charge them for the spectrum in the rural areas, so that this will really incentivize them to go and do more investment. When it comes to the government investment in the infrastructure, yes, this may be a way, but each government has to define its own priorities for its investment upon the available budget for this investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Georgia, please.
Thank you. Of course, that's the IDI gives us opportunity to really measure that is our steps which done by government, is it on the right way or not, what we have to improve, what we have to do for the future efficiently. And we see that different parameters and how it influences on the indexes of a country. But in any case, we will be glad to work together with ITU and all other countries to maybe find new ways and new approaches to the future to make and providing the to these indexes more efficiently. We've had the discussions with Dr. Zawazao that in one case that sometimes improving of indexes of countries depends on how the country provides the data and how the data is truly collected in a country. That's why we work actively internally to improve this process and create measurement process internally more better.
Thank you very much. So Korea and Denmark, you can share 1 minute, right? No, you can have a minute each.
Okay. I really appreciate ITU BDT, Director Sanao, Dr. Sabasaba, Susan, SP, Vanessa, Ivan. I think it's 5 years ago, my young colleague or lady told me she had to go to EGTI active. At that time, what did it mean active? What's the role? What's the function of active? But at the first time, I think maybe less than 12 person attend. But during the last 5 years, it's bigger and bigger. And then last year, Alexander, as a chair, is EGH is another expert group. And then I think it's really appreciate BDT, ITU BDT. And then thank you for understanding ITUD very well. The second one is business. I think this year I invite 53 telecommunication operators, CEO, the level of CEO, to our country. Because Papua New Guinea, Rwanda, Tanzania, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, they wanted to jump. They use 2G, but they do not want to go to 3G. They jumped LTE. Korea is one of the most developed countries in LTE. And then if you need more information or more technology, please let me know. I will help. Not just business, just a bridge between your country and my country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Korea. Denmark, you said this is from Denmark. We know the problems we have had have nothing to do with the unit. Huh?
Not this unit.
Okay, please, your intervention.
No, obviously I represent Denmark, but first and foremost, I'm a businessman. I run 2 private equity funds here in Georgia, and we are invested into ITC, and it's a bit of a response to Mozambique as well. I think one of the things that we've seen in the developing countries is that, and I appreciate that comment from you, that you kind of bridge the development, you leapfrog into the advanced stage of ITC, and I think that quite a lot, especially in developing countries, there's quite a lot of, if I can say this here, quite a lot of money to be made in that development, and it's quite an attractive investment as well. And in terms of rural development, what we often see is that in rural development, where the competition is not so hard as it is in the cities where you have several providers, there's actually quite a good business to be made. So just saying that because it's far away from the capital means that there's no market is not entirely right, and obviously that's going back to Saudi Arabia. A very dense country is obviously easier to deliver that service in the rural areas, unless you have very long. When you have very long stretches of land you have to cover, then that's an issue. So if I was an investor, I would definitely look at ICT, and I would definitely do it in the developing markets. I think there's quite a lot of opportunity there, and I believe in private money being much faster than public money also.
Yeah. Okay, so this was for thanking all the panelists and of course the representative of Denmark. I would like to thank you for your active participation during this particular session, and we are getting close. I would like to remind you that at 1:30 until 2 o'clock, our colleagues from Brazil are going to run a side event, and you are all invited to go there. And we urge you to come back here. We are going to have very interesting things this afternoon. You are invited to be here on time. I summarize. I think what we have heard from our panelists represents the general views of the participants here, that we have to continue to work tirelessly to make sure that the next WTIS is going to be a WTIS with a difference. And the venue, I don't know where it will be, but I can tell you it's going to be a great venue. One thing that I also want to mention is the fact that here you should take advantage and exchange business cards so that you can network. The conversation does not end here. You should continue to converse and to exchange ideas, and we can learn from each other. We are also learning. The IDI, as I always wanted to say, is not a naming and shaming exercise or a beauty contest. It is something that should help you to define exactly where you are going and to take remedial action to make sure that you move faster than you are moving. And there are many lessons to be learned from those countries that are a little bit more advanced than you may be, and you are more advanced than others are. So that is the spirit that we should be having. I would like to thank you and to urge you again to participate in the EGTI and GHI, because if you participate and you submit the surveys and questionnaires on time and they are done in a quality manner, that is going to impact your IDI. So with this, I would like to hand over to the chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Zhao Zhao. I think it was very interesting discussions and very interesting panelists. Finally, I would like to mention that one important advices and things that might help the countries is to rise cooperation between internal telecommunication companies. Then you have less resources, lack resources, according to access to the money, cheap money. It's the cooperation between companies creates huge opportunities for the developing of ICT in the countries. Thank you very much, and we have now the lunch. At 2 o'clock we'll continue our session, and we will have a presentation of a summary and conclusions. And at 2:40 we have our ceremony and announcement of WTS 2015. Thank you very much again, and see you later.